budget hearings to provide the public the opportunity to ask questions or comments on the proposed fiscal year 2025 LP district budget and the fiscal year 2025 LP ACC budget. Does anyone from the public have any comments or questions? Yes.
My comment is about the real estate tax rate from last year, 23 paid and 24. Maybe mine was an exception, but my real estate tax bill portion for this district went up over 10%, 10.4 exactly. I realized the tax rate went up 1%, the assessed value went up significantly. And the combination led to what I think is an excessive rate increase. And I'm just asking what the board's provision is for this year's budget to reduce that tax burden on the tax-paying residents of the district.
Can I address that? I'd be happy to address that. So for this year, last year's levy for this year's fiscal year, we had a decrease of over $1 million in revenue coming from one of our local funding sources, corporate personal property replacement tax. The state had done some reassessing of what that number is, and a number of districts saw significant declines in that. So that was one of my recommendations to the board last year, is to try to be able to fill that bucket up in terms of seeing what the increased evaluation of property was, to be able to capture as much of that as we can to be able to backfill that bucket. As we look to this coming fiscal year, we've already been having conversations at our finance committee level that we're going to be in a position to be able to drop that rate as we prepare the levy for the coming school year, to be able to provide some relief to the taxpayers. It's one of the reasons why our tax rate actually went up about 1.9 cents or 2 cents, is that I base our levy projections off of the estimates that the county provides us with. And this was one of the few years that the estimate that we received from the county actually was less than what I had submitted to the Board of Education. So based on some of the funds that are in our levy, whatever dollar amount you put in, that's the amount that you get. And so it went up that amount because the property value was less, so the rate had increased a little bit on the county's level to be able to capture that dollar amount. We recognize that, and we're going to work to be able to give that back to the taxpayers with this year's levy for next year.
How much do you project that will be?
Well, that's also going to be a function of when we get the estimates from the county. They have shared with us that we will get the projected estimates middle of October. So at the November board meeting, that's when I'll present to the board the tentative levy. So I would encourage you to come to the November board meeting, because it would be at that meeting there that you'll be able to see what our projected tax rate would be and what we would be looking at as far as a reduction in your tax bill.
As just a general philosophy though, what would be your projection for what property tax increases should be, will be in the future?
Yeah, a lot of that is contingent on, what the assessed valuation comes in at. I mean, as you're aware, LaSalle County we're a non-capped district, or a non-capped county, and so, everything is kind of contingent on where assessed valuation comes in. We're presenting a balanced budget to the board this year, so I mean that's kind of where we want to be. So from that standpoint, our goal is always to ensure that we present to the board a balanced budget with a very, very nominal surplus, and that's what we're presenting this year. So I can't give you a hard answer, on that, because there are other factors at play. But once we get the assessed value, the projected assessed valuation from the county, we'll have a much better idea of what that will look like in the tax rate for next year.
I guess I just want to just make one more thing, how important real estate tax values are, not only to people individually, but to the community.
Right.
It is a big factor in economic development in our community, and the education part of the tax bill is significant.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just would like the board to consider the impact these are, and, you know, not just look to raise money, but to look at other avenues to decrease the reliance on, or decrease the reliance on increasing the tax rate
Sure.
to the residents of the district.
Right. Yeah, that is always the balance. It is that it's in Illinois and across the country. This is really the predominant means of how schools are funded. You know, so it's that balancing act of being a good steward to where we're levying what we need to be able to also provide quality programs, you know, for all of our students. And so we recognize that the reliance on property tax, because for LP High School, you know, when you look at the balance between local, state, and federal, over about 80.4% of our revenue comes from local sources, and that's just a function of the geographic size of our district and how much wealth that there is. And quite frankly, I mean, compared to other districts in the area where there's some that have like a 70% reliance on state funding, where the LP is in a much stronger position because because the majority of our funding comes from property taxes, and so we're not as beholden to state funding. But that's the yin and the yang, and I appreciate that, you know, in terms of the impact that it does have, you know, on the taxpayer. All I can share right now, though, is that our plan is to be able to provide relief in the coming fiscal year with the upcoming levy.
Any other questions? I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes. I'd like to call the order of the regular board meeting, Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ferrari?
Here.
Mrs. Taliani?
Here.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Here.
Dr. Lynch?
Here.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Here.
Mr. Pacetto?
Here.
Mr. Sarver?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. At this time, I'd like the Board of Education to look at the regular minutes for the August 14th, 2024 meeting. If there are no corrections or additions, I need a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Tonight, under recognitions and comments from visitors, to start off with, we have our Renaissance program, who continues to serve as a national norm. This year, over the summer, Ms. Eichelkraut, Mr. Miller, with a team of Renaissance students, attended the global conference, returned home with more hardware, of course, like every other summer. And they brought back the Rennie Award and the Plattman Award.
Hi, I'm Jordan Whaley.
I'm Stacey Alveder. I'm Haley Fagersick.
And we're 3 out of the 4 members that attended the Jostens Renaissance Global Conference this summer. We just want to thank you for your continued support of Renaissance. It means a lot. When we were at the conference this summer, there was a record-breaking number of attendees. It was over 2,000, so there was a lot of people there. But it was really fun, and we really enjoyed our time, and we learned a lot to bring back to our school to further our Renaissance program. LP is a really big deal at this conference. So many times there was teachers and students that would come up to us and be like, "You're from LP," when they would see on our lanyards, and they would think that was really special. We presented a student point of view presentation to about 30 students and teachers about our Renaissance cards, which are a really big deal, and we helped show how to implement it into other schools' Renaissance programs.
Yeah, and we won a Rennie Award for our use of the Harbor Character Development Series.
To receive this, we had to provide data that proves the positive impact that Harbor Homeroom has had since its implementation. We looked at the Spring Student Needs Assessment to measure this. From spring of 2021 to spring of 2024, students reporting a need for education about anxiety has decreased 16%. From spring of 2021 to spring of 2024, students reporting a need for education about self-awareness and self-concept has decreased 10%. From spring of 2021 to spring of 2024, students reporting a need for education about motivation decreased 9%.
And to add on to that award, we also got the highest honor that any Renaissance school can achieve, which is the Platinum Level School Distinction. And to receive this, we had to provide data that proves the positive impact Renaissance has had since its implementation. So since we implemented Renaissance 18 years ago, the average student GPA has increased 0.43 points. And since implementing Renaissance 18 years ago, also the number of students earning Renaissance cards has increased 12%. So we plan to continue improving the climate and culture of LP by recognizing and rewarding as many students and faculty as possible. And again, we would like to thank the school board for their continued support of our Renaissance program.
Well, we would like to thank you for all your hard work.
Yes.
Excellent. At this time, I'd like each of you to come up individually and meet the board. First off, we have Mrs. Andrea Eichel.
Thank you for the support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mrs. Abigail Goy.
Thank you so much.
Just in case. You carried that thing.
Thank you. Andrea, your
You're
supervision.
you're a
She won't
weightlifter.
stop at TSA because
Oh, I bet you
how it works.
I bet they did.
Thank you.
Mr. Jason Miller.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jason. Miss Stacy Albee.
Thank you.
Congratulations, great job.
Thank you so much.
Nice job, well done.
Thank you. I will.
Miss Haley Pankersick. Congratulations, great job. Nice job. You're welcome. Congratulations. Miss Jordan Whaley. Congratulations, great job. Nice job, Jordan.
Thank you.
Unable to attend tonight was Miss Carissa Winnigan.
Where is that heavy and very prestigious award going?
Yeah,
Where
it's
does
gonna
it-
have to be on a,
Where do they put it?
it's gonna be on a sturdy shelf somewhere.
Is that our,
It's heavy.
our third now that we've received, or second? It's our second. Second platinum, I think we've gotten now.
Now, if that platinum award were just made out of platinum, I can't imagine how heavy it'd be. And how much it'd be worth, or what it'd be worth. Ooh.
We'll add it to our other platinum award that we've received previously. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Tonight, to kick off 2024-2025 division highlights, we have Mrs. Gladys Ramey, Division Head for the Fine Arts and World Languages. Not here? Wow, I thought we were there for a second. I might have had to get up and sing.
I'm in. I'll give you a little,
You could have done
give
it.
you a little alphabet.
Sally, you could have done it. I'd had
I
problems.
could, like Maestro Buster, would have done the alphabet.
I had no. Stand up and sing Donkey.
Huh?
Ferris Bueller.
That's German.
I know. That's a world language.
I understand that.
Mr. Baker?
So tomorrow, instead of like crossword puzzles, I'll do that.
Isn't technology fun? Isn't technology fun? Irritating glitches in it.
It's amazing.
Okay, he's out for 5 minutes. He's never played it out. So I'm scrambling.
Can you download it in PowerPoint?
You tell him I have a cafe. You tell him it was suicide. I picked up a sub. Sub to really hit. Mason. Was last time, but McCaffrey's out. Just to show you where I've had, I'm also fans right now. I don't know.
I guess you could just hop your slide. Buddy also likes.
Just do it myself.
That's my drink.
Well, good evening. I'm Mrs. Ramey. I teach Spanish and Spanish 1, Spanish 4, and Spanish for Spanish speakers. Our highlight is going to be the class Spanish for Spanish speakers. LP really has been an innovator in this area. We started, I think the only one still teaching a heritage class to our Spanish speakers. We started in 1998 when we saw a need for a class that would really help those students who already spoke Spanish and would really not have their skills or abilities improved in a regular Spanish class. So we developed the Spanish for Spanish speakers class. We focused more on Spanish language arts and also the expansion of their vocabulary. It was also designed to provide a safe space for them to develop their skills. Being in a class with English speakers, it really didn't fit their needs, and I think neither sides of the students' needs were being met. It also provides them a space where if they make errors, they have other students to kind of help them out without feeling as if they didn't know the language which they were brought up learning. The next one. I did ask my students 3 questions to see if their needs are ever met. I do this on a yearly basis. Every once in a while I skip a year, but one of the 3 questions are, why are you taking Spanish class? What do you like about the class? And how do you plan to use Spanish in the future? the latest student, I asked her to just write out 2 sentences total. She just decided she could not fit those 2 sentences in what I gave her. She stated, I absolutely love this class and still miss it. I love the style of teaching. It accommodated for all different levels of Spanish. Learning new cultures in a fun way helped her better her Spanish, and it also helped her become fairly proud of her skills, completely developed. And by cultures, there are 21 Spanish-speaking countries, so it's not just one. So I think it really helps them also accept other cultures, the Spanish-speaking cultures, because even today, oh boy, looks like my class sometimes. Even today, we have quite a few students. We have a student from Chile, a student from Guatemala, one from Venezuela, another one from Colombia. So we really do have different cultures within our area. Oh, this is terrible. Sorry about this, guys. Now I can't even see what I posted. Matt, do you have the slides on yours? Or no, you don't. That's okay.
Yes, it would be hard
All right.
without a really long cable to.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy.
This is finally waking up.
It may be connecting to the internet.
Is it? Okay. So as I was stating, we focus mainly on the students developing their language arts. A lot of my students, my English speakers, do always have the question of, they already speak Spanish, so why are they in Spanish class? And I tell them, well, it's like your English classes. You are developing your language arts. Your literacy is really one of the main focuses for all of their English classes from grade school all the way up to senior year. And what I try to do is I try to squeeze in as much information as possible for them in order for them to further develop their skills, and then later on, once they graduate, be able to use their language, their heritage language. And I call it heritage because when we started it in 1998, it was called Spanish for Native Speakers, because that's what we had, a lot of native speakers. But as the Illinois Valley area continues to grow, what we are finding is that we have 2nd generation and 3rd generation Spanish speakers. And this really does not give them the title of a native speaker, because a native speaker this is their first language. So now this becomes the heritage language, which is one of the reasons why we changed it to Spanish for Spanish speakers, to kind of grab onto all of the different levels for the students. Because I have students who speak it and understand it, but their reading and their writing needs work. So that group, I know we need to develop that literacy portion of their skills. And for the other native speakers, we continue further developing their language and also expanding their views of the different cultures. Because if you really think about it, when you are,
Everything's not good.
it's just me, my luck. I am so sorry.
Very fitting,
I don't know.
very fitting. Oh, the cucaracha, very fitting.
So, oh gosh. So I try to make sure that I am able to provide help for those who are, and I hate saying this, but on the lower end of their literacy skills, because they really have not taken any type of language courses for their language, as well as those who have come in with a higher Spanish background from other countries. And even when they're coming from other countries, do you think they're gonna know their language really well? There are some countries that their public education goes up to 6th grade. So they don't go past that.
So, Mrs. Raymond, what would be maybe 1 or 2 examples of where the Spanish for Spanish Speakers program is different in terms of experiences or activities than, let's say, a traditional Spanish class?
Some people would say it is very similar to the English course in the sense that they have to learn how to write. a composition, a paragraph, sometimes even sentence structures. I'm not saying everybody's at that level, but it comes to the point where we start off from base one. What is a noun, what is a verb, what is an adjective, an adverb, etc. So I try to make sure that we are able to develop those particular skills. I mean, this year we did that. We just finished a unit with poetry, and I just gave them basic. What's a verse? What's a stanza? What's the purpose of a poem? Why do they write poems? And then they had to analyze different types of poetry. I chose different poets, people from Cuba, from Chile, from Mexico, and I believe one from Spain. So they got to also experience the different types and levels of the Spanish language. So, for those
I don't have
of
touchscreen,
us.
Gladys. You'd have to use the arrows.
Oh. The
Let's
what?
go to the right, yeah.
Enter?
Just the right button, the right arrow.
Okay, thank you. All right, so what do we offer for our heritage learners? And these are the students, yes, it's terrible. These are the students who, like I said, are in our course sequence. We've changed it a bit. We used to have it where they could choose AP Spanish and then just leave. But we noticed that there's a need for them to have 4 years, so we changed it so that they have the level 1 and 2. They're both taught together in the same course, and when that happens, I have to develop a sequence. So 1 year we teach the curriculum A, and then the next year curriculum B. After that, they can move on to Spanish 3, where they have more grammar, and then AP Spanish. The great thing about that is it helps them get prepared for either the AP Spanish language exam, or they can take the Apple test, and this is through the American Council of Teaching a Foreign Language, which allows them to earn the seal of biliteracy, which Illinois has the seal of biliteracy. You get a certificate indicating that you are proficient in 2 languages, the English language for sure, and then the second language. And for these students, they earn the seal of biliteracy. We've had quite a few students who have earned the seal of biliteracy. Okay, especially one of the young lady who wrote that little list. She has so far earned it, and all she has to do once she graduates, she gets the little seal of biliteracy on her transcript. Placement testing. How do we place them in this particular course sequence? Well, we give them an assessment. We test them in all 4 modes, and that's going to be the reading, writing, listening, and speaking. I try to do a very short one because I do accompany the ELL teacher to grade schools, and we try to give this test during the winter time, either December, January, or February. So once they have to come in to select their classes, if they have placed in there, it's already set for them. Okay, so my whole vision was how to strengthen their identity as a Latino. The next one was how to develop a depth of knowledge of the Latino culture, not just their own country, but different countries. And how will their students' literacy skills advance? And as Dr. Rapleski was asking, what are the things that we do? I provide readers. We do a lot of grammar. I try to throw it in into each of the units. Some of the readers that we get, I look for readers that have some kind of cultural background where we can investigate the culture of the individual, the main character of the story. In this one, it's Guatemala. So we study the geography and the indigenous people from that area, and the language arts. We do the present tense, sentence formation, paragraph writing, and also presentational speaking, because not everybody feels comfortable with that. And this way, at least they have another class where they can express themselves without hopefully becoming too nervous. The nervous never just leaves. This one is regarding Panama and who built the canal. I understand that there were many countries who had their hands in there, but we seem to always forget about the Afro-Panamanian people. And so we discussed that. Once again, the language arts, we touch upon each of the areas that I can possibly do activities, little mini projects, all within each one of these storylines. This is one that we're going to be reading this coming semester. It's going to be the history of the indigenous people of Mexico. It's not just the Aztecs. And also we discuss the legends too. We're going to be discussing the legends. One of the things that we do is the retelling. A lot of students don't know how to retell something without saying and so therefore we work on that in their language, which hopefully should transfer to any of their other courses. And these are some of the other readers that we're going to be discussing. Bananas, it seems like a really silly thing, but no, it's regarding the United Fruit Company. We have Hija de Sastre, and that's going to be Spain and World War II. And then we have Hasta la Sepultura, which is going to deal with Spain during the 1500s. And La Guerra Sucia is Argentina's dirty war, which not many people kind of know about, okay? And some of the things that we do is, this is one of the projects that they did. They had to do a recommendation of a book that they read, and I don't know if you can see this. Well, we'll see. Maybe it'll work.
Oh, is that the video?
Yes, this is the video.
Oh, okay. If it doesn't load that, I think it should load. If not, I have it back up.
All right. We will do the backup then. Oh, okay, maybe it will. Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Here we go.
It's gonna want a lot.
It worked so beautifully when I did it at home.
There, it's just wondering.
That's it.
That should take it.
Hi, Matt.
That's good. Hopefully they're all saved in there. It's just down. So it's just a PDF you sent me, so it's down.
And this is one of my students. He did a, oh boy.
I got it.
Did a little mini presentation, like I said. And I'm only gonna show you like 30 seconds of it. They used Adobe Express, and they were able to use videos that are in this particular program, and also use the recording of their voices to provide the audio for this. So they gave a little brief explanation of the
El
story.
idea principal en la historia Las Hermanas Coloradas se trata de dos hermanas que se desaparecieron de un pueblo chiquito en España. La gente llama a Plinio. La gente dice que es el mejor policía
Oh, okay, and we're gonna pause it there.
en España.
Maybe, yes. Yeah, so they go through the whole retelling of the story within a minute, and then they give their recommendation of the book that they read. And this was a book that they had to select on their own, read with a partner out loud, and then complete this project all by themselves. So they got all of the tools, they just had to finish that up, all in Spanish, of course. And you might say to yourself, they already speak Spanish. He is one of my students that did a fantastic job. His Spanish has improved significantly, so I can see the slight errors, but also the great progress he has made throughout the years he's been in my class. Other projects that we focus on are Day of the Dead. The second one is very controversial for my students because they see what they're wearing, but really it's Holy Week. It is Holy Week in Spain and also Central America. The other one is Day of the Dead. That's another representation of it, and this is in Guatemala. So they get to learn that other countries do celebrate it, but not in the same way as Mexico does. And then of course we have another festival, and this one is from Ecuador. So they do get to learn about the different cultures. Not only that, sometimes they do have their hands-on projects. This one is in the one next to Doctor. That's little ornaments that they make out of tin. They also make the Day of the Dead altar. And then right underneath that, that's the barriletes, which is the one in the third picture there. So that's the representation of it, which is also a Day of the Dead celebration. Other activities that we do, they listen to songs from different cultures because everybody is so centered on what kind of music they like. They don't understand there are other countries and other styles of music. So we do also listen to that. They get to watch movie clips, some in the indigenous language, and compare it to the activities and celebrations that are in the Mexican culture, because a lot of them are from the Mexican culture. And of course, the most popular one is the foods, the foods of different Hispanic Latinos. These are some of the activities that they did. One of them, I believe almost all three of those are retelling. The very top one is a retelling of that one story in Guatemala. They had to indicate all of the countries that the young man traveled through. The second one is another story that they read from South America. And then this third one is an infamous story that happens in South America. It's about someone going to the dentist and whether the dentist is really going to take out his tooth in a nice manner or not, since he's a general who executed all of his friends. And then the last one right next to, at the very bottom, I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's one where they had to create a story from the get-go, from a list of vocabulary that they had after they read a story. Then they created their own story regarding either a topic that they had to have approved by me. And then of course, this is why I do it all, because of all these wonderful students. I really, really am so thrilled to have them in my class. And as I stated before, I am always so proud to hear of what they've done. One of them is an owner of a restaurant in the Illinois Valley area. Two are in the law field, and they are helping immigrants in the process to become a citizen. And one of them is still going to school in Yale to go to finish up his medical degree. So, I mean, it's really thrilling to see how far my students have come throughout the whole process. So, and that's finished speakers. Any questions?
Great job.
Yeah.
Okay, tonight under public comment, we have two of our students, junior Molly Mudge and freshman Molly Thompson would like to address the board on our implementing agriculture back into our curriculum. Ladies?
Hello, I'm Molly Thompson and I'm a freshman here at LP. I have always had the love for agriculture. I've always wanted to be part in an FFA program, and I was very disappointed when I learned LP did not have one. LP's vision statement, learn, grow, lead, excellent understanding, describes what Ag and FFA is all about. According to USDA.gov, there are 22.1 million jobs in the U.S. that involve agriculture. Many of these jobs are not your standard farmers. The Illinois FFA website provides that 91% of the students are non-farm students. There are many jobs in agriculture and FFA. There's textile manufacturing, food scientist, dietitian, food process engineers, baking, financing, because farmers need money, and many other jobs that include agriculture. Ag and FFA is a great way to create leaderships in students. They get involved in the community and learn many important life skills. Many colleges will look for Ag because it demonstrates leadership and commitment. Board of Education, please consider allowing LP to add agriculture and FFA to the robust curriculum. Thank you for allowing the time for me to speak.
Good evening. My name is Molly Mudge and I'm a junior here at LP High School. First off, I want to thank the school board for allowing me to speak here this evening. I'd also like to thank all of you who came here tonight. I'd especially like to thank Dr. Oleski for all of his time and effort to help make our ideas possible. I've always been interested in agriculture as my family farms here in LaSalle County. I've been part of the Dimmock Braves 4-H club for 10 years. 4-H has taught me how to have confidence and how to become a leader. I feel an ag program will allow myself and other students to continue to grow and also contribute to our community. By starting an ag program, it will give LP the ability to start an FFA chapter. I have heard many students, staff, and community members tell me how excited they are about this new opportunity. Again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you considering the approval to begin a campaign to build an ag building. I look forward to working with my teachers, administration, and peers to grow an ag program and an FFA chapter.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also on public comment, I have is it John Thompson.
Gee, I don't need to.
Oh.
You did a great job.
Okay, if you'd like to speak.
No, they covered everything.
Okay.
They
No.
did very well.
They did a great job. And I, someone who married a farmer, I totally agree. Agriculture is needed, very much so, especially in our community.
Prominent industry in the area.
Yeah, especially in our area. You're right. I mean, so I'm
an
really
FFA
excited.
FFA alumni, so at this school.
Yeah, I'm excited about the steps we're taking to
I'd
move
like to see
forward.
it happen.
Because I think, and as I've been in this business for a lot of years, I've always thought we have students interested in things, we need to implement them. And this is one of the ones that, over the years, I can't believe we dropped it. But it was numbers. But now the numbers look like they're going to be very positive. So this is something we need to move forward with quickly. But thank you very much for your time. Okay, under finance. A motion to approve the bills and payroll for LaSalle-Peru Township High School.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. And a motion to approve the bills and payroll for the LP Area Career Center.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. And a motion to approve the payroll report.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I need a motion to approve the financial records as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. Under correspondence, we have a thank you card from Mrs. Sherry DePape, the LP Foundation Chair, expressing appreciation for the beautiful Get Well floral arrangement. We also got a thank you card from Mrs. Julie Jenkins, art teacher, expressing appreciation for the mentorship and support throughout her tenure journey. And in their TIF reimbursements, the City of LaSalle intergovernment agreement, $173,796.08.
You know what was missing at the football game on Friday night? Pork burgers. That's what was missing.
What was missing?
Pork burgers. See,
Okay.
and I work at Ottawa, and our FFA chapter makes pork burgers at the football games.
Okay.
And they're delightful. And that's what was missing Friday night at the football game. Because I didn't like watching the game. We got whooped. But a pork burger would have made it better.
What do you mean we?
They will start next week.
All right.
Let's take some parking spaces out of that reserved area. Set up a
That
grill.
works for me. I'll walk for a pork burger.
Doesn't bother me any.
They were
I have four-wheel
delicious.
drive. I can park anywhere.
Telling you. Sorry, it just had to come out.
No,
It was in there. It had to
I'm
come
with
out.
you. I mean, I'm waiting for it. I don't want to interrupt you anymore. You good?
Are we the only school that does pork burgers?
We sell pork chop sandwiches at the games.
Thank you. All right.
We
I'm
sell
not
pork chop
crazy.
sandwiches.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Not pork burgers. We sell
They're
pork
pork
chops.
chop sandwiches or pork burgers. They're out of this world.
I think our pork chop sandwiches are pretty
Well,
good.
come on over on October 5th and give October 4th and have a little sample.
I
Maybe
don't
we'll
know.
just step it up and we'll have steak sandwiches.
Now we're talking. All All right, I'm done talking, I promise. I can't.
It's all right. This isn't on the agenda, is it? I didn't see that on the agenda.
And I'm in charge of this, huh? Board committee reports. Building and Grounds Committee, Mr. Ferrari.
Building and Grounds Committee met last week, Tuesday, September 10th. We talked about some of the upcoming facility improvements and financing recommendations for next fiscal year, 2025/2026. And one of our action items tonight, number 10.4, is approval of the recommendations for the following fiscal year. And the committee unanimously recommended that we go ahead and approve the list. We talked about the renovations, repairs that are proceeding on Howard Fellows Stadium. If any of the games you've noticed, the projects that are on tap that began this summer are projected to be completed by Halloween. And there'll be further repairs done next summer. We talked about the nets and poles have arrived for the discus area out at the sports complex, and those will be installed in this fall. Security camera installation has been completed. We're still waiting on the press box windows for the building out there at the baseball fields. And we're waiting on prices for the pitching cage security. The early childhood playground over at the Dolan building, near the Dolan building, is expected to be completed later in September, and ribbon cutting on the project is tentatively scheduled for sometime in October. Work on the health occupations classroom is proceeding, and one of the action items, number 10.6 tonight, is there'll be a motion to let bids on that project, and that was also unanimously recommended by the committee. Lastly, and not least, of course, the committee voted unanimously to recommend that we grant Dr. Robleski authority to begin a fundraising campaign for a new ag building for LP High School. And that is action item 10.5 on tonight's agenda. One of the further things that are being done down at the stadium, they noticed that the original dedication plaque at Howard Fellows Stadium, which is, gosh, probably, what, 75, 80 years old? Is
1976. When it was renamed, yeah.
Oh, so it's been
Trust
refurbished
me.
once. Well, they're gonna
I was there.
they're gonna take it down and refurbish it again, so that when the repairs are completed on the stadium, the dedication plaque will look good as well. And that was the last item we discussed.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Ferrari. Finance Committee, Mr. Murbaugh.
We also met, and the first thing that we had on our agenda was we met with the investment group from Hometown National Bank, Philip Slevin and his team, and they gave us a breakdown of our investment results and things of that nature, plus also kind of the cash flow plan, because it's important to ladder the cash flows for our cash needs in the future, and told us what they're investing in, what they anticipate with rates. And, you know, I live in this world, so maybe everybody else didn't know at 1:01 p.m. that the Fed slashed rates by 50 basis points today, but they did. And so we're prepared that and know that our investment returns likely won't be as good as they've been this last 18 months. But I have to say, and I'm going to say it publicly, that Phil and his team have done a wonderful job for the district. And I think that our partnership has really benefited us with the management of our liquidity and our investments and things of that nature. I just wanted to say that publicly. I think they do a great job for us. We reviewed the monthly financials. Of course, it's a little different because the budget hasn't been approved yet. So we did look through some things and looked at our cash balances and other things, but it'll get back to normal after we approve the budget and we can input everything, our expenditures and revenues, based next to the budget numbers. We also had some great news, got the preliminary audit results. And with that, we were very happily told by Dr. Robleski that the district is back to recognition status, which is a step up in our financial status from this. These are preliminary audit results, but that's what will be in the final report, so that is a huge step for the district. We also then looked at the budget and recommended approval of the budget that's on the agenda tonight. And then we also talked about the facility improvements and recommended approval of all of them. And just like the Building and Grounds Committee, we also recommended that the board authorize Dr. Robleski to begin a capital campaign for the new agricultural building. And we had no other business after that.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Murbaugh. Policy Committee, Mrs. Alcorn.
Thank you. We met and I had a 15-minute meeting, so it was.
You're going after records, aren't you? Yeah, going after my record, I tell you what.
We approved the press policy, and I'm going to let Dr. Wobeski talk about the issues that he researched on that, and that we are comfortable with what that is.
So the press policy issue 116 is really almost entirely devoted to the passage of the updated Title IX federal regulations as it would relate to having updated policies on preventing discrimination, bullying, harassment. And so one of the things that we specifically looked at is that you've probably seen across the country, there are, depending on where the district is located at, there have been courts that have are challenging the Title IX regulations. Part of that is tied in with the different perspectives as far as protections for different gender identity designations, LGBTQ designations as well. Where Illinois resides, we're in the 7th U.S. Circuit Court, which has continually upheld the Title IX regulations. And quite honestly, as I've looked at also everything within them, at the end of the day, this is about we don't want anybody picked on. We don't want anybody harassed, and I think that there's something if someone identifies a certain way, well, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can so they're not being discriminated or harassed in that regard. And so I didn't feel there was any issues in terms of the committee recommending the full adoption of that. Coupled with, the federal court system under which we have that has jurisdiction on us has continually upheld the Title IX regulations. And so committee is recommending the board's adoption.
Recommending that. What was interesting in that conversation is that we don't have to change anything in our policy, our handbook, and those kind of things that we're there, so there weren't any major changes we had to do there. The next thing was the exam waiver revision that we changed recently, and it was discovered through use that we have excluded college visits as being approved absences. So you would get, if you went to visit a college, you would get penalized by not being in class. So we are suggesting that we allow 3 visits a year, and this would be in your senior year, and this would be brought up next month on the agenda, and so there'll be more discussion about how this looks and what we can do. That was all we had. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions? Thank you, Mrs. Alcorn. Administrative reports, superintendent report, Dr. Blesker.
Thank you, Mr. Sarver. Just to follow up on Mr. Murbach's report on the budget, we're pleased to be presenting a balanced budget to the Board of Education. I want to commend Mrs. Does for her work. This is her first time through as our business manager. Although I know she's used to bigger numbers in her previous experiences, it's her first time through working on a school district budget. And so it's been a very collaborative process working with the administrators, department chairs. Mrs. Cushing has had opportunities as well to be able to participate in the process as well. And so I know as a superintendent, I've appreciated all the input that the staff has had and the double and the triple and the quadruple checks to ensure that we are presenting a budget that is going to meet and match up to the major components in our strategic plan and the 120 promise. I think from my standpoint, that's the driving force for everything that we do in terms of driving dollars to be able to support programs and facilities. And so I'm very proud of the budget that we're presenting this year. And I want to just thank everybody that has had a hand in that as well. Whether it be through the review of our local funds or the work with our grants. I know Mrs. Salazar has been able to participate as well with our IDEA resources as well. So we appreciate her involvement in that too. The other thing I would add to the preliminary audit findings is that there were no findings. So there will be no corrections for this year, and that is it's a credit to the team that manages that on a daily basis, and that would be Mrs. Does, Mrs. Snell, Mrs. Bergagna, Mrs. Franklin, Mrs. Riva. That's kind of the core team that helps ensure that that the processes that we have in place are going to ensure that we're in compliance with all of the government regulations and expectations for how we manage monies, from our internal controls to the way that we manage purchase orders. And so I really am appreciative for everyone's efforts in that. On Monday, the 23rd, we're going to have our annual ROE inspection. Mr. Randy Goodbread is going to be here for that day. He and Mr. Tominella are coordinating the walkthroughs for that, and we should expect to have his inspection report sometime, hopefully before the October meeting. And then finally, regarding back to the audit, Mr. Newkirk will be here next month, and I think he's bringing his son again.
With a helper?
With a helper. He'll have his helper
So.
here with him as well. I know, yeah, exactly. It's always look forward to that. We received a number of FOIA requests in the last month. I have those listed there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 FOIA requests. 5 of them have been from a Mr. Owen Wang from the Illinois Valley Times, requesting a variety of information for our school calendar, school enrollment information, list of our activities, staff listings, directories. We have complied with each of those requests in the timeline, in the statutory time frame. And then we had which is an annual FOIA request from Smart Procure, but they're also interested in having our current employee and staff contact information on that. Mrs. Riva, our FOIA officer, has responded to all those within the statutory time frame. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
Questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Valesky. Principal's report, Mrs. Cushing.
Good evening. My report has several items packed in there, but I'm just going to highlight the one that or a couple of them that I think are really important. This year we had a big shift in some of the activities that we do around here, which is our pre-huddle and huddle. Maybe you've heard people in the community talking about this, or for those of you with kids in the district, they may have been using those words. I certainly know I've been talking about huddles a lot at home as well, because they're a pretty big deal here. I just want to update you that while it was a very large initiative, I think it is overall going very well. We've tried to support the teachers and staff members as best as we can. We've done multiple trainings to provide them with what they need to implement those. We've also recognized that they needed a few materials, so we've also purchased those, gave them some flexibility to make sure that they need or received what they needed to get this the ball going with the pre-huddles. Hopefully you caught my ball rolling thing.
Gotcha.
Trying to keep with that dream team thing. But anyways, so overall it's going really well. We've got some logistics we're working out, of course. We have gone through a couple of them already. I know I have personally received quite a bit of feedback from students themselves that have said that they've enjoyed being recognized. I've had staff members say that that's really great to see us recognizing students and staff as well. So those are all positive things that we were hoping for, and it's nice to hear that feedback already this quickly in the process of that. One of the other things that we do during huddle is share data with the staff, and that's really one of the major cruxes besides the celebrations. I included all of that data in there for you with the breakdown of the specifics on how many students are in the F zones and all of those things. I would share with you that that has greatly improved from the first huddle to the second. So to me, that is telling us that by us sharing that data so publicly, I think that it is having an impact on the kids going, oh, okay, they're paying attention to this. I would tell you, I won't go through all of those numbers exactly, but out of our grades, we have 94.75% of our students, or of our courses, that have a passing grade. So I would consider that an extremely high passing rate. Having looked at the data here for like 9 years, I know that that is actually a very high rate for us right now, and so hopefully that will continue. The other data that I wanted to share that was not in my report because it is very hot off the press is some data about our extended Wednesdays, which is another new change here this year. Our percentage has been it has an average of 49% for attendance. You might say, well, that doesn't sound very good, but we were in the quarter to 33% zone when we had Saturday school. So this is an improvement, and we've had several weeks that were actually in the about 67%. We just had one really bad outlier week of attendance that dropped the total there. I would also share a couple of little things on the discipline zone there. For cell phones, because that's been a new change this year. We've had 230 confiscations. We've only had 4 though that have gotten up to that 4th violation. So the vast majority of those 179 have only hit that first zone. So it happens, and I think the majority of them are recognizing that we're serious about that. On a positive note with the data, my last data point, sorry, I love data, is that 232 positive referrals have happened, which is great. So very good on that. The last thing I'll highlight though from my report is some teacher recognition. I was asked by the ROE to recommend a couple of teachers, or actually 6 teachers, for the ROE Teacher Leader Roundtables that will be happening throughout the school year. And we will have Michelle Honecker-Ummel and Alexandra West representing us in September. And then in January, we'll have Troy Woods and Rob Clydesdale. And then in April, we'll have Nick Stevenson and Jared Munt. So I'm very happy that we'll be able to have our teachers representing our district in front of the rest of the ROE County area. Any questions for me on my report?
Thank you, Mrs. Cushing. The athletic director's report is in your packet. He's not here this evening. The director of the Area Career Center, Dr. Lang.
Good evening. So one of my major goals as director is to get the ACC out in the community and also get the community into the ACC. So you'll notice some of the things that I put in the packet this month is things where either students are going out in the community or the community's coming in. So the first thing is automotive program. They're going to be hosting their annual car show. It's this Sunday. Our registration's at 8 o'clock. To go along with the car show, we're also going to be doing tours of the program spaces and trying to get the people that are maybe at the car show that don't really know exactly what we do at the Career Center, give them an opportunity to see what we do and maybe highlight some of the projects that the students have been doing there. Also, September 24th, the annual counselor and principal meeting is happening over the Dolan building. along with professional development. One of my major goals from that meeting is to collaborate with the counselors to see where maybe some of the deficits are, but then also talk about the programs that we have at the Career Center and in the partner region, and then also see what we can do to improve, what we can add, and also some different things that we can do to make sure that we're being compliant with the state on some of those things, mainly with PACE, and hopefully at some point we get some professional development for the SIS 360, which is a tracking and or career exploration program that the state has adopted that's free. So some schools are using a program that costs them. The college actually pays for one of them for some of the districts as part of some of the grant money that they receive. But the one that the state has approved also helps all of us track the students as they're learning about the careers and then actually as they go and get a job. So it'd be really nice to be able to report to the state when our students leave and they either go into further education or they get a career that's related to what they learned here. Students are going to be going to the Manufacturing Expo on the 18th of October. They're also going to, so it's going to be hosted at IVCC, where they're going to meet some of the instructors over there. They're going to learn about their programs. But even prior to that, they're going to visit some of the local manufacturers and see what those careers look like there and what our region has to offer so that we can help them understand the type of careers that are in our region. This one's actually kind of cool. There's a wall on the second floor of the Dolan building right in front of our offices, and let's just say it's been left a little bit to be desired, right? It hasn't changed in several years, and a lot of people asked, what we should do. And a suggestion from our office is actually Chris and Jeanette suggested that we see if the art department wanted to do one of their murals there. And when I reached out to Julie Jenkins about it, she thought it was a great idea. And I thought it was really cool to also get that group of students that may not partake in the ACC courses over there to see what we offer. And that included a tour. So they actually came over, and part of their project in their art club is to put a proposal together for us. So we're a customer. So we thought that was pretty cool. And then another really big thing right now is we're lacking a computer program right now at the Career Center. We weren't able to acquire a computer teacher for this year. So what I'd like to do is put an advisory committee together instead of just hiring for what we had, actually find out from the community and the local businesses what type of computer program that they think that we need, and also get some feedback from the schools and the students, and then go from there. So we can prepare the position before we go back out and look for another instructor. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Director of Communications, Mr. Baker.
Hi, good evening, everyone. A couple of things. So, as I'm sure you all know, we're about to go into homecoming week, so we've been busy getting the word out about all the activities there and working with our student council and other, Mrs. Hartman, our new activity director, to make sure we're getting everything kind of compiled and out to the community, getting ready for all those things. Also, we continue to do some work with and try to make the most out of our new Select Gym video board, the Daktronics board. So as Mrs. Cushing talked about the huddles, we're trying to implement the board into that as much as possible. We've had a few home volleyball games, so working with Mrs. Baker and Mrs. Gibson and Mrs. Brigagna, we've been really trying to take what we learned over the summer and really maximize what we can do and really create a great environment for our fans and students and everybody else who's in the gym. The other big piece is get ready next week. The LP Foundation is back in action with their annual family dinner at the Right Spice on Wednesday night. So we hope to see as many of you out there as you can for either dine in or carry out or curbside pickup, or if you want to volunteer some time. I'm sure Mrs. DePape wouldn't turn anyone away. And so that's kind of all for me. Other than if I can offer, I guess, maybe a little character support or witness. Not, I guess, unlike we learned from Mr. Sarver today, I also, I guess, you can say is lucky enough to marry someone who grew up a farm girl. So now, which means we have chickens and goats and things at our house. And Miss Mudge has become our go-to livestock babysitter whenever we're out of town. So she does really know what she's talking about. We haven't lost anything on her watch.
That's good.
So yes, take her word for it when she says she knows what she's talking about.
I
That's
believe
all.
her. 39
Unless you have any
years.
questions for me?
39 years.
That's fine.
I believe her. Trust me. Thank you. Okay, under new business, 10.1, a motion of approval to adopt LaSalle-Peru Township High School fiscal year 2025 budget.
So moved.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.2, need a motion of approval to adopt LaSalle-Peru Area Career Center fiscal year 2025 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.3, a motion of approval to adopt the 2024-2025 ACC joint agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.4, need a motion of approval of facility implement recommendations for fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.5, any emotional approval to authorize the superintendent to begin a capital improvement fundraising campaign for the construction of an agriculture building.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.6, any motion of approval to authorize the superintendent to let bids for the health occupations classroom renovation project.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.7, a motion of approval of the fiscal year 2024 salary compensation report.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.8, need a motion of approval of the fiscal year 2024 IMRF compensation report.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto? Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.9, a motion of approval of the 2024-2025 school resource officer memorandum of understanding for $60,192.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.10, a motion of approval for the following applications for partial occupancy. Howard Fellow Stadium renovation.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.11, a motion of approval of the 2024-2025 school profile.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.12, an emotional approval of the IHSA Boys Swim Cooperative application for 2024-2025.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.13, an emotional approval of the press policy issue 116, August 2024, second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.14, emotional approval of the following appointments. Mrs. Ashley Urbanski, volunteer assistant volleyball coach, effective 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Brandon Plaker, LP Honor Society sponsor, effective for the 2024-2025 school year, replaces Mrs. Andrea Eichelkraut. Mr. Michael Taylor, volunteer Special Olympics assistant coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. Mrs. Molly Leone, volunteer assistant girls tennis coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Aaron Gunther, head girls bowling coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year, replaces Mr. Jim McCabe. Mr. Patrick Carney, head girls track and field coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year, replaces Mr. John Beatty. Mrs. Kristen Adams, Assistant Girls Track and Field Coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year, replace Mr. Dan Burkhart. Mr. Nate Hackenberger, Assistant Baseball Coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year, replaces Mr. Andrew Nelson. Mr. Jake Dahl, Volunteer Assistant Baseball Coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Jake Wagner, Volunteer Assistant Baseball Coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year. And Mrs. Amy Rankin, Volunteer Drama Club Coach, effective for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. 10.15, any motion approved to allow Knights of Columbus to conduct Tootsie Roll candy sale on Friday, September 27th, 2024, at LP football game at Howard Fellow Stadium.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto? Mr. Sarver?
Yes. I need a motion to go into the executive closed session for A, discussion of the minutes of the meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meeting Act, whether for the purpose of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes. B, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee. C, purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. And D, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees and or I'm good. And or representative or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
There you go.
With open session of public action items to follow.
So moved.
We did pay the bills.
Yeah.
Mr. Murbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Pacetto?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrari?
Yes.
Mrs. Taliani?
Yes.
Dr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mrs. Alcorn?
Yes.
Mr. Sarver?
Yes. That was 2 sentences. 2 sentences.